Welcome back to my channel. Well, at long last I was able to get out for another flight. Weather was very cold, but the wind was manageable. It was mid-afternoon, bit overcast, so not ideal lighting conditions, but there was enough light for me to try out my neutral density filters. And the footage that I'm going to show you, I'm using the ND8 filter. I have the camera setting at 100th with the ISO at 800. Probably in retrospect I would have gone with the ND4 filter. I think the footage is perhaps a little bit dark, but not unusable, and you'll be able to see the effect that the filter has had on the quality of the shot. I was able to practice also, or continue to practice, my manoeuvring of the craft. I'm trying to smooth things out. So there was no real flight plan involved here. It's me just going up, clearing the power lines, going over the fields and trying some manoeuvres and just getting a feel again for the craft. This is something that very much, I think there's a knack to this, and there's obviously a lot of memory, muscle memory involved, and I think it's one of those things that you just have to keep practicing over and over and over again, and try to remember what it is that you did to get the craft to do certain things. Remember how you did that. The other thing I'm learning is that there has to be very careful control of the sticks and what you do with them. You're not necessarily making massive movements. Some of the movements can be quite subtle. Again, these are things that will come, I'm sure, with practice. But it was very cold, so I only went up for about 20 minutes, one battery's worth of flying. But it was good to get the drone up again after the last week of high winds and rain, and I'm pleased to be able to bring you some more footage. So without any further ado, let's have a look at what I was able to shoot. So let's get this eye in the sky. Sorry about that rather cringe-worthy comment, but I must say that I am rather relieved to finally be able to get the drone out for some more flying. We've had some rather inclement weather in these parts with high winds and some rain. Not really the ideal weather for a beginner like me to fly in. I've been extremely sensible, and I'm not going to push my luck. I did try to take the drone up during one windy day and was rather alarmed when a gust of wind took the drone away from me, and I had to struggle to get it back. And I was extremely fortunate that in fact I hadn't strayed too far from my position on the ground, so it wasn't difficult getting it back. But I think if I'd been further away from home I would have struggled, so I'm not going to take any chances. I am extremely lucky that on my doorstep I have these areas, as you can see here, these wide open spaces and these clumps of trees. It's probably a good couple of square miles. I've not really explored it to its full extent. I'm still gaining my confidence with the craft and learning some basic maneuvers before I push it out too far. But I'm extremely lucky to have this on my doorstep, because it does enable me to take the craft up anytime that the weather permits, really, without my having to stray too far, and enable me to practice my flying maneuvers, get used to the controls, and just basically gain confidence It's amazing when you first get a drone how you do have to get into a drone mindset, because you're sending this tiny craft hundreds of feet up into the air, hundreds of feet away from you, and there is a sense of vulnerability, certainly I found with that. I'm feeling less vulnerable sending the craft out. I am gaining more confidence, and that's come about because the drone is extremely stable in the air. I've been very impressed with it. I mean, you look at this footage, you would not know if you weren't told that this was such a tiny little craft. It's fantastic, really, for what it costs and for the quality of images that you can obtain from it, and the stability that it has, and the software. Incidentally, the app that I'm using is the 1.2.4. That came out, it seems, only a couple of weeks ago, and already it's been replaced with 1.2.5. I haven't managed to install that yet. I did check to see if the compass settings had been corrected in 1.2.4. I was told that the compass settings were corrected, but I've got to say they haven't been. My experience is that the compass settings are no better than they were under the 1.2.3 app. I don't know if they've improved in 1.2.5. No doubt we'll see when I come to check that. But I'm still having troubles. I'm effectively not relying on the compass anymore. I was able, for most of all this flying here, to keep the drone in sight, or certainly I knew where the drone was from me. I've become a lot more proficient at reading this terrain. I can tell from the images that are coming back through my mobile phone where I am. This, of course, is a great benefit of knowing your terrain, and no doubt having a flight plan is something that is going to be extremely beneficial when I start flying in areas away from my immediate vicinity. As I mentioned in the opening comments, I'm using a neutral density filter on the lens. This is an ND8 filter. The number denotes how dark the filter is, and therefore how much or how little light it allows into the camera. The filters that I have are 4, 8, 16 and 32. The lower the number, the more light the filter will allow into the camera, and the higher the number, the less light. And the idea is that you will put a higher number filter on in very bright conditions and a lower number filter on in lower light conditions. I've got number 8 on. Probably I should have gone with number 4. In retrospect, this is something that I will learn as I spend more time with the drone and get more flying hours under my belt. But as you can see, the footage is not too bad. It was extremely overcast. I had the shutter down to 1/100th of a second, and I had the ISO set at 800. I could have raised the ISO, but then of course I'm degrading the quality of the image by allowing in more noise. I think if I'd had ND4 on, it would have been a much better balance. But as you can see, the footage is quite usable still. I like the saturation of colours, the greens coming out, the red in the bricks. When we see the sky, you can see that slate blue in the clouds. So yeah, I'm pleased with those filters. They're certainly going to be a regular feature in my footage. So here I'm going to be coming into land. Notice something here. See that judder I noticed that's the gimbal coming down when I got it fully under, pointing down, straight down at me. I'm not sure what that is. If that's, there you go, you see it again. Now is that because I've got the filter on, or is that something that's a feature in the gimbal? I'm going to be testing that out, both with and without filter, to see what the score with that is, if there's any particular reason why that happened. So hopefully you enjoyed that. I'll look again to get the drone up as soon as I can, shoot more footage, do some more practice. I'm already learning the terrain and which areas around me in my immediate vicinity look most suitable for some cinematic shots. I want to start practicing those and putting that to music. So already in my mind I'm devising a flight plan, and over the next few weeks, a few days even, I'll be looking to put that flight plan together and shoot that footage as soon as I can. But until next time, thank you for watching.